The tragic case of the Liske family, a true crime story. The Liske family case is one of the most chilling and tragic true crime stories in recent history. The events that transpired on Halloween in 2010 left an entire community in shock and raised haunting questions about the nature of violence within families. The Liske family, residing in a quiet rural area of Martin, Ohio, appeared to be an ordinary family. To their neighbors, they were a picture of normalcy. However, what seemed peaceful on the surface concealed tensions and struggles that would lead to a night of unimaginable horror. On the morning of October 31st, 2010, tragedy struck the Liske household. William "Bill" Liske, a respected and well-liked member of the community, was discovered brutally murdered along with his wife, Susan Liske, and her son, Derek Griffin. For Devin Griffin, Susan's youngest son, the morning began with hope and normalcy. Returning from a church retreat, Devin eagerly anticipated a day of Halloween festivities at home. What he walked into instead would haunt him forever. As Devin started his morning routine, he believed his family was still asleep and the day would proceed as planned. However, the eerie stillness in the house gave way to an unthinkable reality. Devin found his mother and stepfather lifeless in their bedroom, victims of a violent, brutal attack. The discovery of his stepbrother Derek's body compounded the horror. Stricken with panic and disbelief, Devin immediately called 911, his trembling voice a reflection of his shock and pain. Law enforcement officials quickly arrived at the residence. The investigation revealed a crime scene both gruesome and heartbreaking. Bill Liske had been shot multiple times in his sleep, a clear indication that he had no opportunity to defend himself. Susan's violent death mirrored the horror, and Derek had similarly suffered a brutal end. The degree of violence suggested deep-seated anger, and investigators homed in on their suspicions. The crime had been committed by someone close to the victims. To the community's astonishment, attention soon focused on William BJ Liske, Bill's eldest son. BJ's history of mental illness and behavioral instability added layers of complexity to the investigation. The revelation that a family member could unleash such devastation painfully forced the Liske case into the spotlight. BJ Liske's troubled history became a critical part of the unfolding story. A long-time struggle with schizophrenia combined with violent tendencies painted a picture of a deeply tormented individual. Over the years, BJ's erratic behavior had prompted numerous interventions, but these measures often fell short of lasting solutions. The Liske family grappled with strained relationships, particularly between BJ and his father, as well as with his stepmother Susan. Previous incidents hinted at BJ's capacity for aggression. Reports showed he had exhibited troubling behavior towards Susan in the past. Despite these warning signs, the family's attempts to address BJ's issues were undermined by systemic challenges and ineffective support systems. No one in their circle could have anticipated how tragically these events would unfold. As authorities worked to locate BJ, each revelation made the crime more chilling. BJ fled the scene after the murders, but was later found at a family cabin. According to police reports, he behaved as though nothing had occurred. This eerie lack of remorse or recognition of his actions added to the community's horror. When confronted, BJ did not resist arrest and appeared disturbingly detached from the enormity of his crimes. Investigators faced the difficult task of unraveling his mindset, a disturbing combination of mental illness and unimaginable violence. The investigation further uncovered the horrifying sequence of events that unfolded in the Liske household that fateful night. Forensic evidence painted a grim picture. Bill had been attacked as he slept, with no chance to defend himself. Susan and Derek were targeted next, their violent ends suggesting that BJ acted with rage and intent. Authorities found that BJ had a complicated relationship with his family, and while his struggle with schizophrenia was well documented, the resulting violence surpassed anyone's expectations. Attempts at treatment had failed to fully manage his condition, carrying tragic consequences. The case was a devastating reminder of the consequences of untreated or undersupported severe mental illnesses. BJ's history of schizophrenia became central to the broader discussion surrounding this case. Schizophrenia is a severe mental health disorder that, without appropriate treatment, can deteriorate into concerning and unpredictable behavior. For BJ, the lack of consistent intervention culminated in horrifying violence. Mental illness, particularly when coupled with inadequate resources or support, represents significant challenges for individuals and their families alike. The Liske family's tragedy underscores the societal failures that often accompany these struggles. Despite their efforts, BJ's family could not secure the help he desperately needed, setting the stage for disastrous consequences. As the case reached the courtroom, attention turned to BJ's mental state and the details of the horrifying crime. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence that implicated BJ in the brutal murders. Scenes from the crime were reconstructed for the court, leaving no doubt about his actions or intentions. The defense emphasized BJ's long-standing battle with schizophrenia, arguing that his mental state influenced his capacity to understand or control his actions. Despite these considerations, BJ pleaded guilty to 3 counts of aggravated murder. Ultimately, BJ was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would never pose a threat to society again. The murders sent ripples of grief, fear, and shock across the Martin, Ohio community. Bill, Susan, and Derek were remembered as caring and well-loved individuals whose lives were cut tragically short. Devin Griffin, in particular, bore the personal burden of loss alongside the trauma of discovering the crime. For neighbors and friends, the case represented a shocking disruption to their sense of safety. It served as a grim reminder that even seemingly idyllic communities are not immune to tragedy. Mourners gathered in remembrance of the victims, but the scars left behind by such a brutal loss would not soon fade. Beyond its heart-wrenching details, the Liske family case raises critical discussions around the systemic shortcomings evident in both mental health care and domestic support systems. Why were repeated warnings about BJ's worsening state not heeded in time? How could systemic safeguards have been employed to prevent the escalation of such dangerous tendencies? Experts believe that cases like these highlight the widespread lack of funding, accessibility, and early intervention in mental health care. Families in crisis often face immense barriers when seeking help for loved ones with severe psychiatric conditions. The tragedy of the Liske family underscores the necessity of proactive systems that protect both individuals who struggle with mental illness and those around them. The haunting details of this story continue to resonate as a cautionary tale. This case underscores the fragility of human relationships and the real dangers of untreated mental health disorders. It illustrates the importance of recognizing warning signs, as well as the urgent need for systemic reform to better address mental health concerns. The true horror of the Liske family case is not just in the brutal nature of the crime, but in the understanding that it might have been prevented. Had BJ received more support or early intervention, the devastating consequences of unchecked mental illness might never have unfolded. For Devin Griffin, the loss of his family marked the beginning of a lifetime of healing and rebuilding. For the community of Martin, Ohio, the horror of that Halloween morning changed their understanding of safety and the struggles hidden behind closed doors. As they mourn the lives lost, those who knew Bill, Susan, and Derek hold on to cherished memories while grappling with the painful reality of their absence. The story of the Liske family stands as a grim reminder of what can happen when violence intersects with untreated mental health challenges. It calls upon society to prioritize mental health education, funding, and resources as key tools for prevention. As time passes, the Liske family murders remain etched into the memories of those affected by the tragedy. Whether as a story of personal loss or as a broader societal failure, its lessons cannot be ignored. For families similarly grappling with such challenges, it serves as both a cautionary tale and a plea for meaningful, systemic change. Ultimately, the Liske family's story reminds us of the heavy price of inaction and the urgent need for compassion, understanding, and proactive solutions that can save lives before it's too late.